Hi, I'm Chris from AirWindows, and I'm talking to you today because I've got something new in the sense of something old that's gone through a bunch of revisions. This is ADClip5. Now, you might notice that it says 5 on it. There's been that many versions of this plugin. What's new in this version is a couple of things, and here's one. I've got this mode switch that you can see engaging over here. And what that does is it switches between the normal ADClip, a setting called clip only, which will show you only the peaks that are getting cropped off, highest lift only, and subslift only. These are, sorry about this, these are tools that you can use to dial in a better version of what you're trying to do with ADClip. Now, anybody who owns ADClip will be getting this free in email because I support the stuff that I've already sold. So if you bought ADClip1, you will now get 4 versions of it as free updates. That also means that if you go and try demos from a previous version, you can have the previous version for free. Just buy the newest version and then ask me for the older version that you want, and you can have that added to your collection. But here's what this one does. First, a little bit of weird techno type music. This was chosen to be challenging to clip. And what we'll do is engage a gain plugin, this is Purest Gain, and cut it down 7 dB. Then what we're going to do is engage ADClip and show you that it sounds pretty much the same as it did at this level. Cut it back. This is a very high degree of clipping. I'm showing that off on purpose. It's completely blowing it away. You're not normally supposed to do 7 dB of clipping on something this punchy. But we'll do that. And then I'll show you clip only. This is everything that's hitting the clipper. Now, you can use this to sort of dial in the amount of gain you can get away with. You can kind of tell it's happening, but it covers up pretty well for the fact that it's being clipped. The other settings are a little more unusual. Like highest lift is normally very, very, very subtle. You can't really hear it too well. I can exaggerate it. What highest lift does is it will fill in a loudness that's being taken out of the original recording by the clipping and try to sort of fill it in a way. This is, there's a plugin called FGX that introduced this process. The reason it's so quiet is because this is an unpleasant sounding process. You don't normally want to rearrange energy this way. What that will do is let you push the gain very extremely and fill in loudness where it was normally not there. Also, subslift. This is perhaps a little more useful. It sounds kind of strange, but it reinforces the bass that's already present in the track. It's calculated to do that in a special way. And we can push it to where it's quite strong. That's peaking as high as it's going to come back in a moment. The highest lift wasn't peaking very high at all, but this is peaking as high as -7, -6. Now bear in mind that is only the bass energy that's being rearranged and put back into the sound. What we'll do is, since we've got it down at -7, we'll go back to the full ADClip. This very extremely overloaded sound. And you can hear that the bass is hyped up an extremely large amount. Now what I'm going to do next is turn it down to the point where it's not doing obnoxious, horrible things with the sound. Normally we don't take something that's already peaking at 0 and peak an additional 7 dB. ADClip is designed to be sort of a mastering style clipper. It's for loudness maximizing, and I'm going to specify that because I have another clipper. In fact, if you are getting your 4th version of ADClip for free, you might look into the other clip that I'm introducing, which is called One Corner Clip, and consider picking that up as another thing to have in your toolbox, since you're getting lots of versions of ADClip for free. Now let me continue by demonstrating more about ADClip, now that I've told you about the other clip that I'm putting out, which is a separate product. And what we'll do is, let's switch it over to subslift only. It's already cranked way up. Or we can also go to clip only. And what I'm going to do is listen for aggressive sounds, but nothing too recognizable. Like back here, I think was a moment where we had some stuff going on. Like, see, we're starting to get a grinding sound in there. And that probably was quite audible clip-wise. Now we just had a splash of cymbals back there, so what we'll do is we'll crank up the high lift and then pull it back. See, now that was a little burst of highs right there. We can probably get away with this much reinforcement. You can clearly hear the sound going on back there. And then lastly, go over to subslift. ADClip5 had these things going on. These are what distinguish the ADClip, which is the loudness maximizer, from the other clipper that I'm doing, which is more of a wave shaper. And so what we'll do is both highslift and subslift were defaulting to about 0.1. They were really designed to not mess with the sound very much, because I am not a believer in the whole rearrange everything to be exaggerated and extreme, because that just gives you artifacts. That's what happened with that other plugin I mentioned, which hasn't been as well supported as mine either, but that's another story. So let's start bringing in some subslift. This is probably too loud. Pull it back a little bit. And we've got 4.39 dB, so we'll do negative 4.39 dB in purest gain. I don't normally do this. My general sense of ADClip is it shouldn't be a big deal of matching clipped level with reference volume level, because the whole process of clipping for gain damages the sound. What you want to listen for is things like subslift or clip only. And pretty much anything you've got here is going to be damaging the sound. It's kind of a question of how recognizable it is. That's what I think is a more useful tool for whether clipping is going to be obvious or not. So let's just get back to the normal again. Here is a reference sound. And then let's cut in both of these plugins for a level matched ADClip. As you can see, we're pushing real hard with this. We're pushing 4 dB, which is a lot for clipping on stuff that's already peaking out to 0. But we could even be a little more conservative. Like, I did hear a recognizable grind in there, which is not surprising. So what we'll do is go to clip only. And let's pull it back a little bit more. mean if we were at 0, we'd be getting no clipping at all. So the question is, how much can we add? And 4 was rather a lot. Three seems to be pretty much just the peaks of these drums and things. And 3.5, we'll see whether we're still getting any subs left. Let's assume that this is going to kind of get in the way. And let's see whether we have any highs left at all. Just a tiny bit. Let's assume that 2 is going to get in the way. And finally, let's set the gain here to minus 3.5. And we're going to go back into the normal setting. Now this should be getting us 3.5 dB of gain that's usable gain. And this is a really demanding track to be doing this with. It's already maxed out super hard, and the lows are driving extremely heavily. And we've got it volume compensated. And it really sounds pretty darn similar to this unaffected version. You don't hear all that much of the grind, and it's about a worst case scenario. And lastly, let's just get this rolling for a bit. Since we're demonstrating the ability of ADClip to push things without going into obvious distortion, we've given it 3.5 dB of gain on top of something that was already pretty much peaking out. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate that by leaving this off, and we're going to set purest gain to 1 dB overload and see what we're getting. So we're consistently getting near about 0.3 of absolute max in this, and we're giving it 3.5 dB of gain. So we got this. Now let's kick in the full crank. Take it back out. Turn it back in. That is ADClip5. Now, like I said, I have 2 clippers coming out. The other one is a new design that hasn't been out before. It's kind of similar to some things ADClip5 does, but it really takes it to a whole other level. I consider it more of a wave shaper. It is not designed to take something and just make it be louder, even 3.5 dB louder, relatively tracelessly. It's designed to color and alter the sound in a rather special way, but I'll get onto that in its video. ADClip5 is the 5th version of the loudness maximizer ADClip, and it's designed to let you clip off the peaks in the kind of way that you would with running into a converter really hot or whatever, where it doesn't go all grating and bright and aggressive. And it also does some of those things like, next generation loudness maximizers of letting you fill in additional stuff in the highs and in the lows, so that you can kind of fake additional gain even beyond what you would get with clipping. And that's a hack, and that's why it defaults to 0.1. 0.1 is a level where it's still kind of happening, but you're really never going to hear any coloration or artifacts from that. But now you can enhance it even more. So if that's the kind of thing that you'd like to do, or if all you want out of life is to make everything as gratuitously, horrifically loud as you possibly can, you're probably going to want to do something kind of like this. Hello, Mr. Crank. Hello, Mr. Crank. And now that's going to be absolutely gruesome. And you probably want to control, like you might be compressing some of the sustaining sounds, would just make it more difficult for a clipper to do its thing. But if you really have to make it hit as hard as you possibly can, bang. Good luck making anything sound louder than that. And remember, if you're going to YouTube, what's going to happen is YouTube is going to turn down what you do with that so that it will be equal apparent volume to everything else. So I really kind of, this is for my existing users who own ADClip and would like to have new things to do with it. I'd recommend maybe picking up Righteous so that you can aim stuff for YouTube or aim stuff for intended playback levels. If you're supposed to target a particular RMS level, that's really the tool that you might want to use. This is for the old days of the early 2000s when you had to make CDs louder than everybody else's CD. Those days are gone. But if that's still what you love, this is the thing you want. And it might even, you might actually have some chances of doing something like, for instance, try this. It's a drum kit. It's a drum kit into ADClip. And if you wanted to absolutely smash the drums, that's a very loud, aggressive drum, which is still not clipping until I talk around it. Ow. Okay, that hurt. But that's another thing that you can do with clippers, and that's another thing that you can do with ADClip. I think pretty much anybody else's clipper is going to have a lot of trouble with sounds like that because it doesn't work the same way with highs that ADClip does. ADClip controls highs in a special way, makes them a little dirtier, and prevents them from sounding too harsh. And so you can do horrible things like that. And if you don't own ADClip, I'll just show that to you again because it's quite a trick. With ADClip, you can make a drum kit smash as loud as this. Just in case you wanted to do that to your drum bus or something. Who can say? People want to do crazy things. So that's ADClip5. I probably have this one more or less polished off. You get to the point where a plugin is taken about as far as it needs to go. Like the processing on this one is in 80-bit. Most of the sound that's not being clipped is being passed through directly. And it's got these enhanced things. It's got the mode switch that lets you tell what's going on. It's got the controls to affect what kinds of reinforcement it gets. This might be the final ADClip. I mean, if I get any more of them, you will be getting the new updates free if you own any version of ADClip. But this might be the final version of ADClip. And I hope you enjoy it. I think it's kind of neat. I'm not saying I'm necessarily going to use it because the days of making stuff the loudest possible CD are kind of over, I think. But there could well be times when this will still have a use. If not in producing a final mix, then maybe in producing something like a drum bus like I just showed. Who can say? ADClip5 costs $50 and it's available at airwindows.com. Thanks for listening.